Hi, I'm Jeff Stokes. Welcome to Jeff's Daily Dose of Encouragement. Today I want to encourage you about when life is unfair. I'm reading through Genesis at the moment, and I've got to the story of what happened to Joseph, how his brothers were jealous of him, and then they threw him in a pit and then dragged him out and sold him to some Ishmaelites who sold him to Potiphar, who worked for Pharaoh, and that a captain of Pharaoh's, and he was in his house, and the situation is that Pharaoh's wife took a shine to Joseph and wanted him to sleep with her, and he wouldn't, and then she went and lied and got him in trouble, and he's in prison. He ended up in prison, and we're in the situation where he's in the prison, and he's being charged by the keeper of the prison. He's such a faithful man and a godly man and a servant, and God says in those chapters before, just previous to chapter 40, that he's, God's favours on his life, and everything he does is blessed. So, like as Potiphar left him with everything in charge of his whole house, so the keeper of the prison did the same thing. And Joseph's in a situation. He's an innocent man. He's been jailed, and that just seems really unfair. It seems really unfair. But when that happens, there's a poem, and it says, "The silver tint of the clouds of doubts, success is failure turned inside out." Now, sometimes what seems like a bad situation, God's got an overall good plan in it, and it's a test of how we are going to deal with that. And Joseph he loves the Lord, so he just keeps serving the Lord and serving people and all the gifts and the grace that God's put on his life. And then it comes to a situation in chapter 40 where the king actually ends up imprisoning his chief butler and his chief baker. And then this is God setting Joseph up, setting him up for his future. They both have dreams. The chief butler has a dream that he sees himself filling Pharaoh's cup again and giving Pharaoh's cup into his hand again. And the baker has a dream of birds eating all the bread that's on the baskets on his head. And Joseph has this opportunity and seeks God and interprets the dreams for them and tells them what's going to happen. One, the butler's going to be restored in 3 days, and two, the baker is going to be hanged in 3 days. And exactly what Joseph interpreted happened. On Pharaoh's birthday, it says in Genesis chapter 40, he restored the chief butler and he hanged the baker. And Joseph had asked the butler to remember him to Pharaoh because he was in there innocently, but the butler forgot. But Joseph wouldn't have realized this at the time, but God's setting him up, and he's using him and putting him in a real lowly place as a servant to develop him and develop his character and everything like that. And then he sets him up with this interpretation of a dream, so that we know down the track, if you know the story down the track, it's Pharaoh that ends up having a dream, and Joseph is able to interpret that dream, and it ends up him going from being in the lowest dungeon to the highest office in the land, apart from Pharaoh himself. So when life is unfair, remember God has a plan that we can't see and work out, but he works it out his way to promote us, if you like, or to raise us up into something that we never thought we could have done. If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, if you confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For whosoever shall confess that Jesus is the Son of God, God dwells in him, and he in God. So God bless you. Have a great day, And remember, if life is unfair, God has a plan. And remember Romans 8:28, all things work out for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purposes. God bless you. Have a great day.